Okay, can I now bring in Assembly Member Boff?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you regret not exercising closer oversight of the schemes you funded in Barking and Dagenham, given that this has resulted in high-rise developments that are effectively death traps, long vacant industrial blocks, and residential blocks where serious construction defects, including falling balconies, have emerged?
So there are a number of processes in place in relation to the funding we secure from the government to give to developers across the city. Clearly, it's not possible when you've got the sort of projects we funded for us to, micromanage all of those or inspect all of those. To give you an idea of the scale of homes that have been built since my mayoralty, 116,000 started, between 80 and 86,000 completed between 2016 and 2023. We're now supporting a further 17,000 odd homes. We simply can't, from City Hall, inspect all of those. And where there are breaches, rules not followed, issues, there is provision to claw back any grant funding we have given, and also remedial action we can take in. So if there's any particular cases the member has, I'm more than happy for him to let me know what they are, and we'll look into them.
Well, there is 12 Thames Road. There is Industria, the development that you supported as well, and there is the Weavers' Quarter. All of those developments are disasters, and it's down to, and all of them were supported by you. In fact, in terms of Industria, you gave them £1 million to look at the design and development of Industria, the warehouse in Barking. And that design and development resulted in them putting in the wrong sprinkler system, making it almost impossible for it to be used as a warehouse. I just, back in February 2024, Mr. Mayor, the Assembly made a unanimous recommendation to you that you should investigate your investments in Barking and Dagenham. You declined and said it's not my problem, Gov. Do you think it really is your problem that you are throwing money at boroughs that have demonstrated they have no ability to spend it wisely?
Well, Chair, there's lots of issues there raised, and I'll have you give me the time to respond to the various issues that have been raised by the member. So City Hall, Land and Property Fund projects, not just that councils are responsible for, not just that housing associations are responsible for, not just that development corporations are responsible for, not just that developers are responsible for, not just that small developers are responsible for, cooperatives and so forth. So it's simply not realistic for the City Hall team to be inspecting from start to finish every single scheme.
With respect, Mr. Mayor, I'm not asking you to do every single scheme. I really am not. And neither did the Assembly unanimously in 2024. They said, look at Barking and Dagenham. Its record is appalling. And yet you've decided that you don't want to do that. So to end this quickly, Mr. Mayor, if you could write to me and re-look at that recommendation from the Assembly back in February 2024, and just write to me as to whether or not you regret not taking more action.
No, Chair, I'd like to respond now. So we've got 32 boroughs in London and a detailed history of devolution. The idea that the GLA will be acting intra-virus going into a council, we've got no locus to take over the building enforcement role, building control role is nonsense.
You
simply haven't got the ability
to have the power to decide which boroughs to fund. That's in your responsibility.
So the members raised issues of building control, essentially. And the issue is, why didn't the building control in a respective borough check that the conditions of planning were met by the developer? The problem is, in this particular case, from what he's said just now, that conditions were put down on the developer, they weren't followed through. That's a building control issue rather than an issue for GLA officers.
Well, it clearly wasn't in the case of Industria, but I'll end there.
Okay, Assembly Member Lord Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. Happy New Year, Mr. Mayor. Do you regret that house building in London has collapsed completely over the past year with a 73% reduction in new housing starts across London? Do you agree with me that stamp duty for primary residents should be abolished in order to help free up the housing market and get development moving?
Happy New Year as well. I see what's collapsed is Mayor's question time. We get all 25 questions in the first one. It's weird. And so look, can I thank you for the questions and his greetings, and it's lovely to see him back at Mayor's question time. I do regret the crisis in the housing market across the country, housing sector across the country. It breaks my heart that there aren't enough homes being completed for those families in waiting lists and so forth. He gives one example of a stimulus that I understand why he talks as this is a way to stimulate the market in terms of encouraging people to buy. Clearly, if you're not paying stamp duty, you are encouraged to buy. I've just been lectured by his colleague to his left about the cost of public services. And so I suggest he speaks to her about the revenues the government would lose by stamp duty being cut, and then asks his colleague on his left which public services he'd like to cut as a consequence of that revenue being lost to the Treasury.
I think my colleague was referring to the fact that if you could get a market going, it would pay. Things need to be paid for. If we're going to pay for anything, housing would probably be the one that most people would pick. Look, do you think dedicated support for first-time buyers would be a good thing? It's been done before. It's stimulated the market. We need to do something different. Would you support some of that?
Look, I'm a homeowner. I'm blessed to be a homeowner, and I understand the aspiration people have to be homeowners. There are 2.7 million Londoners renting privately. And I think we've got to think about everyone in terms of housing needs. I want more council housing to be built to provide secure, affordable, good quality homes for Londoners. I want affordable homes to be built for rent and for purchase, and I want homes to be built that people can afford to buy as well. There are different views about whether Help to Buy schemes help. I think generally my anecdotal experience as an MP and a mayor is they do support first-time buyers, because that's that little bit of help you get in terms of that really makes a difference, getting over the hurdle of affordability. So I would like us to look in the round at what more we can do to fulfill that dream of those first-time buyers. But understanding the context, which is we've got a housing crisis with 2.7 million people living in private accommodation, and we need to really build more affordable homes.
But of course, that would ease that crisis. When we all agree that there's a crisis, I'm now talking about ways that would ease that, and we're asking for you to support them. For instance, would you help with support for renters' rental history to be taken into account when they're applying for mortgages for lowering their cost of credit in general? Because again, that would get more people into the housing market and relieve the rental market slightly.
I think that question shows his experience speaking to Londoners. He's spot on. Many Londoners rent for years and years and years and are good tenants and pay on time and all the rest of it, and it's not taken into account in terms of credit history when it comes to borrowing for a big mortgage. I'd also like mortgage companies to be more dexterous about the amount they lend, about, for example, can you give a mortgage for homes on plan? One of the reasons why foreign investors buy off-plan property is you can't get a mortgage as a Brit to buy that property off-plan, and there's an issue of cash flow for developers and the way the phasing works. So there's a number of changes that can be made. My understanding is the government working with MHT looking into all these sorts of issues, and if there's a proper consultation, we're more than happy to respond, because he's spot on. There are a number of things we can do, small things that make a big difference.
Let me finish by saying this, Mayor. I wrote a report called Get London Building. I recommend it to you for bedtime reading. It is filled with the things that you could actually do, building on land that you can actually own. We're at the point now where we need to do something counter-cyclical and make a push for London.
I apologise, I've not read the report yet. I'll read it and stuff, and I think this cross-party working to address an issue that affects the city we love is what I'd like to see. Let me take it away and read it. Not at bedtime, but other times during the day. Thank you.
Chair.